Hey everyone, my name is Chris Lambert, and on this channel we talk Kanye West. And today we are talking what is a Watching the Throne exclusive. And we had somebody reach out to us with information about a project that is ongoing with Kanye. And they had some details about the project, what it involves, potential release window, but they also asked for that to remain anonymous and for them to remain anonymous. And they wanted to share but not spoil, right? And especially not get anybody in trouble that's close to the meetings. All they could really let me talk about publicly was this article and just kind of giving people breadcrumbs. And this is something that has flown under the radar, I think, and is kind of just something to pay attention to. That's how we're going to frame it. That this is a subplot in the current Kanye chapter that hasn't been discussed that could become more prominent this year. So we're going to talk about this article, about this partnership, and I guess you can just speculate on what could be coming, though it's specific enough that I don't know if anybody would guess it. But we'll keep tabs on it, and when the information does come out publicly, if any information comes out publicly, we'll discuss in more detail. But you can see here, this headline, this article is from last year, January 2nd, 2020. Startups can benefit from moneyed tech enthusiasts as patrons, which is a headline that kind of buries the lead. It's an article about Alex Klein, the co-founder of a startup called Kano, and the relationship that he has with Kanye. And you can see here, Kano is operating, Jonathan Margulis is the author. Kano was operating from behind a coffee shop when I first visited and met its now 29-year-old co-founder, Alex Klein, a British-born Yale graduate. Now it has a staff of 50 in London, Austin, and Dongguan, China. Last month, Mr. Klein was keen to show me its latest product, a self-build transparent Windows 10 computer produced with Microsoft's blessing, even though it gives a similar performance to the Surface. But it was when I caught a glimpse of another product in Kano's office that the question came up of unexpected characters getting involved in technology. I can't say a lot about the product other than that it reminds me of something rescued from a crashed UFO. A little otherworldly. Sounds like something Kanye would be involved in. The last time I had the same feeling about a new device was in 2001 with the first iPod. Mr. Klein declined to reveal anything beyond describing it as a communications device, kind of. Soft and colorful it is, said Mr. Klein, the most far-field futuristic product imaginable where the biological and the electronic merge, which, well, it's sounding very sci-fi, which is interesting, but possibly not as interesting as the partner with whom Mr. Klein has started working this past year. Enter Kano's new innovation collaborator, Kanye West, the 42-year-old rapper, artist, songwriter, producer, and fashion designer. The unlikely liaison, which was hinted at recently on a music website, fits into a pattern Mr. West was known as a friend of Steve Jobs, and when a newspaper skeptically investigated his claim that he hangs out with a high-end Silicon Valley people, they discovered that it was true. Yeah. So this is the do-it-yourself computer that they were talking about. Other U.S. musicians have dabbled in consumer tech. How I asked Mr. Klein, did this partnership with Mr. West come about? I got to know him last January when he came by our CES trade show, so this would have been January of 2019. And picked up our computer kit. He said he liked it because it's fresh and invited me out to his home for breakfast. After that, I started going back every month, and now we design things together. We even ended up writing together. I'm a credited lyricist on the song Water on his latest album. Yeah, we have this article here that's going to get into that a little bit more. It turns out that Mr. Klein has been a Kanye fan since childhood and also shares much of Mr. West's religious outlook. Although he is less in tune with the musician on one thing, Mr. West has vocally backed Donald Trump. That difference aside, they have said Mr. Klein become friends. I've spent a lot of the past year working with him on this and other things. I think there's going to be a big trend for creatives to make their own tools rather than depend on big tech companies to define how they can express themselves. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's a quote that we would come back to in a future video. Just talking about expression and tools and in that nature of things. We need patrons because with the bulk of modern technology, the spoils go to sophisticated algorithmics, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, so you have that. And then here in a little bit more detail, Sean Sitaro, one of the best people at Complex, talking with Alex about his relationship with Kanye. And it's the same story, Kanye coming up in January of 2019 at CES. I love the simplicity. I love the transparency. I love that anyone can understand it. He's an inspiration to me and an inspiration to what we do at Kano. After that phone call, we started working together on education, community, technology, and business. He gave me this fantastic quote: experience is the best teacher. Education is kind of a spoiler there as well. We can't show what we're working on together yet outside of Jesus is King, but I was incredibly proud to contribute to Jesus is King and have to be collaborated with so many wonderful, brilliant, purposeful artists on the piece. So he just talks about going to Wyoming and what Wyoming's like. Kanye just invited him out. And Nick Knight, Nico being there, James Terrell. There were many others, but I wouldn't want to infringe on their privacy. Yeah, and just talking about the process, Kanye's driving, Kanye's demanding. One part of the process that I found extremely helpful was the ask for more versions and variations, and then the sharing of those versions and variations with a group. Then as a group, responding to those versions and variations, and then Kanye laying them down. It was him really driving the writing of it and driving the next iteration. It weaved in all sorts of directions and then landed. The way I would sum it up is as a kind of relentless drive for excellence and a relentless drive for purity. That all comes back to Kanye and his leadership, which I think is what most fans know of his process at this point, right? He's very hands-on. He knows what he wants to do. He directs people, either giving them a vision of what it is or giving them like a little bit of, this is my rough draft, let's elaborate on it, bring back some concepts, some ideas, and then saying like, okay, I like this version, let's fuse this, like, let's go back and add in this, and this, and he just keeps iterating until he reaches the final points. But that also means that we see, like, I think with Yandi and like with Donda, it can reach a point where he's not liking any of the versions. He's not feeling like it's hitting. He keeps going back for new variations, which takes him off on different paths. And I don't think that's a bad thing in terms of quality overall, right? I'm somebody that has loved every Kanye album. Yes, Jesus is King included, and think that they're all 10 out of 10s. And if that means that we have to suffer through these delays as he's not satisfied with the projects, then so be it. But it does get exhausting. What was it like to be in the middle of Kanye making an album? Great privilege and an honor. I think it was the philosopher Goethe who said, music is what reminds us that there is something greater than our day-to-day existence. This album will stand the test of time because it was informed not just by the desire to entertain and make a great musical work that you could dance to or listen to or enjoy, but to bring people closer to the ultimate reality. The search for truth is something that we all need at this stage. Man. You said a couple years ago that if you got a chance to pitch your company to one person, it would be Kanye West. I assume that was before you met him. I completely forgot about that. That's amazing. So you could just see that Alex has a lot of respect for Kanye. He seems like he's on a similar wavelength with Kanye and just big thinking and ideas, and the fact that they've been working together so much over the last, almost 2 years now is pretty telling. So we'll see if the project that was reported to me emerges and what that's like and what that will be, what that will do, if it ties into anything that might be happening in terms of album or Yeezy Gap. That's not a hint on my part. It's just speculation on my part, just in the fact that it seems Kanye's been holding off on a lot of things that he could be releasing. And it would seem like maybe tying one of these things into the other could be something that happens, but we'll just have to wait and see. I mean, with tech, it could be a few more years down the line, right? Just like with an album. But at least something to keep an eye on, and an interesting Kanye collaboration that I think has gone underreported and just shows that Kanye maybe has more clout in the tech space or more connections to the tech space in Silicon Valley than what a lot of us knew. Like when Kanye was tweeting last year about all the tech people and investors and all of that world, it felt a little uncharacteristic, maybe a little bit, because you think of Kanye in the world of music, you think of Kanye in the world of fashion, and you know that he's an innovator, but we haven't really seen him hanging out, despite glorifying people like Steve Jobs and Howard Hughes and Walt Disney. He has these role models and icons, but it's not like we've seen him in a lot of the tech space and Silicon Valley space. front facing. But the fact that it seems like this has been going on behind the scenes and that he may have more connections to that space than what any of us know, I think is a really cool development, because obviously Kanye has a lot of ideas and there's so much money in tech investing into ideas that I'm down to see where that goes, especially if Kanye does get the city thing rolling eventually, how he had gone to Haiti earlier last year, and they were talking about building a city in Haiti and what that would be like. The fact that he would have these Silicon Valley connections and looking to futurize that city as it's being built, rather than modernizing an older city, I think is really fascinating as well. Because you think about trying to change New York City or Boston at this point, or London, they're so ingrained that any shift in infrastructure is really difficult. But if you're building something from scratch, you can get so innovative with how you're designing things and how you're implementing things. And if Kanye's not only doing that, but has a team of like tech people or Silicon Valley backing him that's going to be bringing forward ideas of the cutting edge, I'm very excited about that, but we'll see. With Kanye, you never know what's going to manifest and what's just in the works and then fizzles out. So we'll see. But that's it for this video. And if there's more details on this that I can share, I will share. And once there's more known, we'll discuss. So until next time, stay wavy and keep it loopy. Cheers.